April 30th, 1975 was the day when the Republic of Vietnam collapsed. The Vietnam War ended. Then there were two major waves of migration from Vietnam to the United States and the Western. More than 125,000 Vietnamese came to the United States in the late spring of 1975 for fear of revenge by the new administration. Also around 20,000 people come to Europe and other countries. Before 1975, Vietnamese or Americans were wives or children of American soldiers in Vietnam or students and merchants who settled in the United States, estimated at between 15,000 and 18,000. The South Vietnamese government collapsed after the April 30th, 1975, end of the Vietnam War. The first wave of refugees began. Fearfulness of revenge by the new government. The first wave of people leaving Vietnam in the spring of 1975 was about 125,000. Most of them were soldiers of the Republic of Vietnam, urban dwellers, educated people, or worked with US troops. They were transported by air to the Philippines and UN bases, and then transferred to refugee centers around the United States. Vietnamese refugees are scattered throughout the country to minimize their impact on local communities and limit the formation of ethnic minority areas. In the past few years, however, most Vietnamese refugees have resettled in California and Texas, making the two states having a higher population of Vietnamese Americans. In 1976, the second wave of Vietnamese refugees began until the mid-1980s. Shortly after the unification of Vietnam, the new government included the various elements of the South Vietnamese government and led them to reform. The people in the camp were taught Marxism, Leninism for from a few months to a few years, labeled to self-supply food. Another cause is the proletarian dictatorship of the Vietnamese government, led by the Communist Party of Vietnam. The policy at that time limited the freedom of business of citizens. The economy became stagnant, causing misery for people in all aspects of life. The United States received 531,310 refugees from Vietnam. April 24th, 1975, outside the embassy, hundreds of Vietnamese who got the entry certificate was packed up to get on board the US plane and knowingly let the American staff know that there was an entry permit. On April 29th, 1975, a US helicopter landed on the roof of the embassy terrace. The Vietnamese crowds clambered up the wall of American embassy in Saigon, trying to get in for the helicopter to take off. The lucky ones were on the helicopter at the US Embassy courthouse. The US military aircraft took 216 orphans out of Vietnam to enter the United States. Mrs. Tisdale still holds photo album records the days running away from Vietnam. The older orphans help put the smaller children into baskets to prepare boarding. A member of U.S. military helicopter carried a child on the ship U.S. Blue Ridge to promptly evacuate Saigon. The last people evacuated by boat in Saigon before the historic moment of liberating the South, restoring peace in Vietnam on April 30, 1975, and the feelings of the Vietnamese people in their early days away from home in 1975.
Chosen to go to America. Why? Why didn't you want to stay in Vietnam?
Because when I leave, I don't think it will say come to Vietnam. I think when I get United States for, not a long time and I can come back to Vietnam, I don't think I have to leave my country away, I don't think so. I think I can come back to Vietnam soon.
Are you very homesick?
Yes, very homesick. I cry every day, every night when I miss I think of my family.
Are you here all alone then, or by yourself?
Yeah.
Do you have friends here?
No. I would like to go back to Vietnam, but I'm afraid because...
But your family's there.
I know that. But I don't know if I go back to Vietnam, I can see my parents.
You're worried that you might not see them?
Yes, that's right.
What do you think they'll do to you?
I don't know.
My family fed me up when I left them behind. I think I have a responsibility to look for them, to look after them, but I left them. I feel guilty.
One of these days we return home and take a path to improve our country. And I do ask all the young men who have evacuated out of Vietnam should do that way.
Should go home and help?
No, if they have a professional now, they should go home and help.
Maybe one day, if I come back to my country, I can fight again.
Do you really think that you'll fight again?
Yeah, I really think I will fight again one day.
How? How will you fight again?
Maybe
With what army?
if we still mercenaries for us, we still, if somebody can support us for finance and army fund, we can fight again to gain our country.
Aren't you dreaming?
I'm not dreaming. I think it's true.
So they have difficulties in new lives to a completely alien society, from eating, climate, geography, treatment, communication, health and medical services. Refugees completely lost.